Plato once said, only the dead have seen the end of war.
But if you're not amongst the dead, there may be no end in sight of presidential war.
Presidential war. What is it good for intellectual stimulation? Say it again now. Presidential war. What is it good for blistering education? Presidential war.
Welcome to the Dead Presidents Podcast and Season 2 of Presidential War.
That's right. Plato, as well as Socrates and Aristotle, may have been morons, but here's two scholars that aren't quite so insipid. I'm Stephen Lincoln Douglas,
And I'm James J. Hamilton.
and as James said, this is Presidential War, the Season 2 debut.
We've got a lot of new categories we're debuting in this game. Cycled out some of the old categories. We kept the really important things like First Lady looks.
Right.
Got rid of some junk like foreign and domestic policy.
Yeah, who needs that? We could judge our presidents on much better
Yeah.
than what their actual policies were.
We'll see what comes up on some of our exciting new categories
That's right.
as we dive into this game. See what cards we're going to draw first. I've got me some Grover Cleveland of the second term.
And I have gotten some Warren G. Harding.
And they're going head to head. And a new category, most accomplished vice president.
That's interesting. I could make a pretty easy point for Warren Harding, as his vice president, Calvin Coolidge, succeeded to the presidency and did a bang-up job.
Well, I think this is probably meant to more of, like, what were Coolidge's accomplishments up to the time that he was vice president.
I see. We'll talk about the Boston police strike.
Yeah.
Governor of Massachusetts. Of course, we'll always have the complete book of U.S. presidents to hand for doing further research. Coolidge, member of the Massachusetts General Court before becoming mayor of Northampton, Mass, then a state senator, and Senate president, then lieutenant governor of Massachusetts before becoming governor. And that was his stepping stone to the vice presidency. And really, it was the Boston police strike that got him national attention.
Of course, I got second term Cleveland, so he had two different vice presidents. First term, he had Thomas Hendricks, but I've got Adlai Stevenson.
That's right.
Served in the U.S. House of Representatives. Assistant Postmaster General. Let's see. Stevenson, known for his soft money views. First term Cleveland had named Stevenson to a federal court appointment, but Senate Republicans refused to confirm him. As Assistant Postmaster General, known for dismissing some 40,000 Republican postmasters. And his non-confirm to the federal court was retaliation by the Republican Party. I don't know. Probably go with Coolidge on that one.
I would. I think Coolidge was a pretty good fella. And probably just some more notable accomplishments. I mean, obviously, his early accomplishments are helped just because he ended up becoming president. But
Move on to a new category. I've got first term Cleveland.
oof, back-to-back Clevelands, and this
Doubling down
time,
on Cleveland this time.
this time he's going up against James Buchanan.
Category best president overall.
Well, not much of an argument here. James Buchanan, easily the worst president in American history, and that's, objectively speaking. Whereas first term Cleveland, one of the best.
Yeah, pretty high. First term Cleveland probably rank higher than a composite of both Cleveland terms.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a pretty easy Grover Cleveland victory.
Yeah.
The befuddled, hands in the air strategy of Buchanan
Yeah.
didn't serve him well. Whereas
Yeah,
Cleveland was wielding the veto power like a hefty battle axe.
Yeah, you can pretty much assume first term Cleveland is better than Buchanan just by the fact that there was no Civil War during Benjamin Harrison's term.
Yeah, he's definitely got that going for him.
Benjamin Harrison, one of the, least known of presidents, rather than the guy who had to clean up James Buchanan's mess.
That's right.
Pretty much top of their list.
Indeed. So this will be a Cleveland hand.
Cleveland's taking this hand. Next up, I'm going to draw John Tyler.
He's going against Millard Fillmore.
Their category, Best Educated.
Well, that's pretty interesting. Millard Fillmore had very little formal education in his youth, but once he started learning, he really went ham. Pretty much never without a book to read.
They're pretty much self-educated.
Yeah.
And, studied law in a lawyer's office, as
Yep.
was customary at the time.
Yep, had some aid from his wife, who happened to be a teacher, and he, her pupil.
Whereas John Tyler in William and Mary College,
Yep.
the classic education for a future president from Virginia.
Yeah. Well, yeah, John Tyler's family certainly more well-to-do than Fillmore's.
Yep.
He had the benefits of being able to attend good schools.
Pretty good student. And also, he studied law with Edmund Randolph, the first Attorney General.
That's a good thing to have in your pocket.
A little more prestigious than the guy Fillmore studied under.
That's for sure. Yeah, I'm thinking that, not to knock Fillmore, because once he started poring over literature, he really took to it, and he was certainly an educated man, but in terms of, his was more, like you said, self-educated.
Yeah, Tyler had pretty much the classic best, best education you can get.
Yeah, he definitely had an advantage over Fillmore in that regard. I feel like
an advantage in this category.
Indeed, I think this is a Tyler hand.
John Tyler's going to take it. We're going to move on to the next category when I'm going to draw Calvin Coolidge.
And I'm going to draw old Zach Taylor.
Their category, Best Politician.
Well, if you've listened to our podcast thus far, and you've listened to the Zachary Taylor episode, you'll know that he was not a politician at all. He had never even voted up to becoming president. He was a career military man.
Yeah, pretty much prided himself on not being a politician.
Yeah, he was pretty much a political independent.
Yeah.
He decided to join the Whig Party, but didn't really agree with them on everything. He was a man of his own mind.
Yeah, didn't really play the political game held himself above that.
Mhm.
If it weren't for
Coolidge.
the intervention of those iced cherries, we might have found out how that would have worked
Yeah.
out for him in the long run.
That's right. Yeah, and as to Coolidge, much more of a standard political climb from local to state level
Yeah.
to national. A man of few words, but good words.
Yep.
He knew how to. He was popular. And despite his reticence, his taciturn nature.
Yeah. Well, he got the job done.
Indeed.
Climb up the political ladder, come in as a vice president, but then be pretty successful, win his own term.
Mhm. And probably could have won a second term handily,
Yeah.
although it would have gone pretty bad for him.
Yeah. He got out while the getting was good.
That's it. Yeah. He also would have died during his second term.
Yeah. Well, he's gonna win this category against Zachary Taylor.
Indeed. He's certainly the better politician of the
Zach
two.
Taylor's category.
'Cause you could scarcely call him a politician. And next up,
Got Dwight Eisenhower.
he's going against James Earl Carter Jr.
Their category, who would you most like to meet?
Well, at the time of this recording, there's still a chance of meeting Jimmy Carter.
Yeah. Yeah, would you rather meet live Jimmy Carter or stand at Dwight Eisenhower's grave?
Yeah.
Well,
No, but if you're going to, if we're saying, you're going to meet them as president, I suppose.
yeah.
Or when they're, still doing pretty good. I think Ike would be a fascinating person to meet.
Yeah, be more interested in like World War II stories rather than like peanut farming stories.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy Carter would have some cool naval stories, I'm sure, but not the kind of yarns that Eisenhower could surely spin. I'm leaning towards, I would personally rather meet Eisenhower.
Yeah, me too. He'd be a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, you can go play some golf together while he regales you with his infamous hole-in-one story.
Yeah.
One of his greatest achievements in life.
Now, if you could meet Billy Carter,
That would be fun. And I don't know what you would do. It might not be that fun. You'd probably just sit on a porch and drink a bunch of cheap beer.
you'd probably just incite him to talk trash about Jimmy.
Yeah. It could be amusing, but Billy Carter is off the table. Jimmy Carter is on it. And I think that he's about to be removed by Dwight D. Eisenhower in this category.
Yeah, we like Ike.
Yeah.
And he's gonna take this hand. Next up, I've got William Henry Harrison.
And I've got Leslie Lynch King,
AKA
Gerald Rudolph Forward.
their category, nicest guy.
I'm immediately leaning towards Gerald Ford because I don't think that many Native Americans would think that William Henry Harrison was a nice guy.
I don't know. His policy, certainly not. I think he was respected by some Native American leaders, but he was pretty ruthless.
Yeah. I think just from a military standpoint, it's hard to be like a super nice guy, especially in those days.
Yeah.
It's almost unfair to Harrison in this particular instance.
Yeah.
Jerry Ford, you could probably catch him at a Michigan game and you know, BS a little bit.
Yeah, he seems pretty cool.
Yeah, much more amiable fellow.
Yeah. Pretty,
But of course, it's hard
pretty
to...
forgiving, as Nixon would agree.
Yeah, that's right.
Doesn't hold grudges.
Yeah. It's hard to say. There's not a whole lot to go on in terms of, you know, instances of like, oh, William Henry Harrison, he's a really nice guy. Ford has a bit of an edge being more modern, where we know a little bit more about him. Like, he was, you know, at least he was like a cool enough guy not to turn his nose up at Chevy Chase's impersonation and
Yeah.
actually appear on the show.
Yeah.
Well, you know, not live, but he phoned in a little bit.
Yeah, able to take a joke.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm leaning towards Ford.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
We'll give it to him.
Ford take this category. Next, I'm going to draw Harry S. Truman.
And he is going up against William Howard Taft.
In their category, First Lady Accomplishment.
I feel like Taft has come up in previous games in the first season. We've talked a little bit about old Nellie Taft, and she was responsible for the lovely cherry blossoms in Washington that one can marvel at, but not too much outside of that. Now, Bess Truman didn't have a fantastic time as First Lady. She didn't really relish that role. Washington society people kind of looked down on the Trumans as being a little more common.
Yeah, according to her daughter's biography of her, Bess Truman resented her husband's decision to accept the vice presidency and detested her years in the White House.
Yeah.
Discontinued First Lady press conferences initiated by Eleanor Roosevelt. Tough act to follow.
Yeah.
Definitely turned down the First Ladyship
Yeah.
from what Eleanor had been doing.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, and Nellie Taft, I mean, she might have the edge with the cherry blossoms. I mean, she did have a pretty bad stroke during her tenure as First Lady that left her unable to do certain things, but...
Well, in this category, she had a stroke of luck.
That's right, because she's come out on top over Bess Truman.
Yeah. Because that one to Mrs. Taft. Moving right along, I'm going to draw Rutherford B. Hayes.
And he's going up against Benjamin Harrison. Ooh, I hope this category isn't Best Presidential Beard.
Well, it's going to be who would you pick first in flag football?
That might not be a bad one. That's a pretty good challenge.
Well, yeah.
Both Civil War veterans.
That's right.
Harrison, the stockier of the two.
Yeah, he was 5 feet 6 inches. Had a large, paunchy torso.
He's
Set of
barrel-shaped.
short, stubby legs, according to the Complete Book of U.S. Presidents.
Mhm.
He's a little taller, 5'8.5". Robust, broad-shouldered.
Mm.
His health generally sound.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking... I mean, Hayes could take a bullet or 4.
Yeah.
So, he's certainly a tough guy. And Benjamin Harrison probably had some strength, but those stubby legs might not do him any favors on the gridiron.
Yeah,
I think if the two were in a lineup, I'd have to go for R.B. Hayes.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. We're going to pick Hayes for our football team.
That's right.
And as the winner of this category. Moving along, I'm going to draw James Madison
He's going against James Abram Garfield.
in the category of post-presidential accomplishments.
Oh, dear me.
Yeah, we changed all these categories to try to avoid repetition. And then we get James Madison in this category.
In this category,
yet
again. Yeah.
After he's... Man.
And we've talked
This is
about
what,
his...
12th game of presidential war. He's probably been in this category 5 times.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. We've gone over it quite a lot.
We can probably just leave it to the listener
Yeah.
to recite his post-presidential accomplishments.
And of course, in this instance, he just gets like an automatic victory because James A. Garfield was killed.
Yep.
I guess a post-presidential accomplishment was his death really took civil service reform to a new level.
Yeah. Well, Madison had the accomplishment of living through his presidency and
Yeah.
thus having a post-presidential career,
Yeah.
including serving on the board of regents of the University of Virginia with Jefferson, representing Orange County at the Virginia Constitutional Convention of 1829, coming out against nullification at a key time, held on to the Constitutional Convention notes until his death.
Yeah, and he was just around for advice and stuff, you know?
Mhm.
People could go to James Madison, one of our best presidential intellects.
Yeah. One of the longest lived of the founding generation.
Yeah. Yep, he's gonna outlive Garfield in this particular category.
Yep. Sand goes to Madison. Next up, I've got Andy Johnson.
He's going against Frankie Pierce.
Their category, looks.
Ooh, thankfully, I drew the right card for that category. Franklin Pierce, not a bad-looking fellow.
One of the
Nice head of hair.
one of the
whereas-
best-looking presidents.
Whereas Andy Johnson looks like he was weaned on a pickle.
Yep.
He has what we,
Scowl, not
yeah,
very attractive.
yeah, what we like to call resting reconstruction face.
Yep.
Yeah, always a very stern, angry-looking person.
Yeah. It's not very appealing.
No, he almost looks like a person that like was trying hard to look stern.
Mm-hmm.
There's something of a quiet dignity in Franklin Pierce, but maybe that's because he's drunk and he's afraid to speak up.
Well,
Yep, I
it's
think
pretty easy on the
he's-
eyes, though.
Yeah, he's easy on the eyes.
And that's what matters in this category.
That's it. Andy Johnson didn't stand much of a chance there.
It's pretty much Pierce's best category.
It is.
Luckily, we don't have the, substantive, domestic policy to go on.
Yeah.
Pierce can dominate when it comes to objectifying him physically.
Yeah.
Next up, I've got Andrew Jackson.
In a tough contest against Theodore Roosevelt.
Their contest, First Lady looks.
Oh, okay. I think Theodore Roosevelt has come up in this before because I mentioned his first wife, Alice, was pretty attractive.
Yeah. More attractive of the two Teddy Roosevelt wives.
But I don't think we could count her.
No, yeah, she wasn't the First Lady. And while
Yeah.
Rachel Jackson did not survive to serve as First Lady, that's That's what counts here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm flipping through the complete book of U.S. presidents, and it says Andrew Jackson, quote unquote, married
Yeah.
Rachel Donaldson Robards, married in quotes, because she was technically already married at the time. Well,
She was a bit plump,
yeah.
Rachel Jackson. We've seen the the dressed, you know, life-size reproductions of them at the Hermitage. She was short and a little bit plump.
Says here, although a dowdy, forlorn figure in middle age, famous for smoking a corncob pipe, she was in her youth a comely, vivacious creature, popular with men.
Yeah.
Maybe a little too popular, as Jackson's enemies would,
Yeah. Would have you
say.
believe, yeah.
Well,
As for Teddy Roosevelt, his first wife, Alice Lee, was a pretty beautiful woman, but unfortunately she died on the same day as Teddy Roosevelt's mother. Mondays.
yep.
Actually, I don't know if it was on a Monday, but boy, talk about having a
Could've
shit
been.
day.
Yeah.
His second wife, and the subject of this category, Edith Caro. And this is where we could go to our handy-dandy Google images. We could take a gander at Edith. Because I have a kind of know what she looks like, but
Your listeners should take out their phones and
start objectifying these women immediately.
Google these first ladies. Maybe driving a car currently, but hey,
This takes
this
precedent.
is important.
The road's still going to be there.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to tell, obviously we get, photos of Edith Roosevelt.
Yeah.
We go with paintings only for Rachel Jackson.
Yeah, and even those paintings, it's hard to say if they do her proper justice,
Yeah.
as she was as a, when Jackson would have first met her.
Mm-hmm.
Because by the time Jackson was running for president, they were both getting to be a little long in the tooth.
Yeah. I don't know. I think young Rachel Jackson might have been not too bad looking.
Yeah, I think she would have been quite a
She
catch.
was-
She was popular.
Yeah. She was, of course, portrayed by Susan Hayward in the blockbuster film The President's Lady.
That's right.
Opposite Charlton Heston as Andrew Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Now I'm picturing Susan Hayward. I gotta say Rachel Jackson takes it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there was a movie made about Edith Roosevelt.
No. And even in, I know, Rough Riders is about TR, but
Yeah. Well,
his wife isn't even in it.
Rachel Jackson is the titular character.
That's true.
Titular character.
In The President's Lady. Yeah, I think we'll go Rachel Jackson here.
Let Rachel squeak out a victory in this category. Moving on, I've got Woodrow Wilson.
Now I've got Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Their
Damn.
category, pre-presidential accomplishments.
Well, Wilson had an interesting rise to the presidency.
Yeah, pretty unconventional. Mainly an academic. He's a, college professor, historian, college president of Princeton University. Then after a mere 2 years as governor of New Jersey, catapulted into the presidency by a Republican Party split between TR and Taft.
FDR, much more standard political rise. New York State Senator, Assistant Secretary of the Navy, Governor of New York. what really put Roosevelt in the public eye was at the convention where he nominated Alfred E. Smith, dubbed him the Happy Warrior, and made a pretty good speech that got him a good bit of attention. Because FDR in 1920 was the vice presidential candidate under James M. Cox. They did not win. Warren Harding and Calvin Coolidge won that election. And after that, not too long after that, is when FDR was stricken with polio.
Yeah.
So when he came back to do that nominating speech for Al Smith, that was a pretty big deal because his career very well could have been over just because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, overcoming polio.
Yeah.
Big accomplishment
With the
for FDR.
with the support of his son, he was able to walk to the podium and, give a good speech. It was a pretty good political comeback.
Yeah. Whereas Wilson, as we talked about, as a historian, not a very great historian.
Yeah.
Taking, what would now be considered a pretty retrograde view of things like Reconstruction.
Yeah.
Of course, he ended up being a huge fan of Birth of a Nation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Might as well.
And not for cinematic achievement.
Yeah.
He was a
Might as
fan
well.
of it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. It might as well have been based on Woodrow Wilson's history books.
Yeah.
The way that, Spielberg's Lincoln based on Team of Rivals.
Yeah.
D.W. Griffith's Birth of a Nation based on Woodrow Wilson's history.
Yeah, pretty much. It was appealing to him, that's for sure.
Yeah, he was pretty racist.
Yeah.
Pretty racist.
Yeah. I think we give this one to FDR. Because after he did make that speech, he became governor of New York, which was, of course, a position that Al Smith had had.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, FDR outpacing Theodore Roosevelt Jr. in the contest of which Roosevelt was going to eventually become president.
Yeah. Family squabbles.
Yep.
And moving along,
I've got William McKinley.
and I've got Ulysses S. Grant.
Their category, Best Businessman.
Oh boy, poor Grant.
Yeah, this is a new category, and we may have just found possibly the worst guy you can have in this category.
Yeah, Grant struggled with every business endeavor he attempted, pre and post presidency. Things didn't go too well. Post presidency, maybe not as much his fault, but
Well,
in his pre-presidential life, his business undertakings, everything inevitably went pear-shaped.
yeah, you'll hear a lot more about that on the Grant episode.
Indeed.
Pretty huge failure. Whereas, let's see what McKinley. I mean, he was a lawyer. He had his own practice in Canton, Ohio. Then, he was serving in the Civil War. He was in the House of Representatives. Had primarily political career.
Yeah, I was going to say he has a bit of an advantage just because Grant was a soldier, not a politician, whereas all politicians have to be businessmen to a certain extent because they're all trying to sell something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, McKinley, he had his own law practice, and
Yeah.
as far as we know, it didn't fail as spectacularly as every one of Ulysses S. Grant's business endeavors.
Yeah. Yeah, this is, I think, a handy victory for Bill McKinley.
William McKinley, the more successful private sector president in this category.
Indeed. And next up,
I've got Herbert Hoover.
And he's going against James Knox Polk.
Their category, most accomplished parents.
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Getting into the presidential family tree in this new category.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to look these ones up. Let's see.
Well, there's a lot of stories about old Sam Polk, a planter, surveyor, and land speculator. Founding father of Maury County and Columbia, the county seat. Came to own thousands of acres of land and more than 50 slaves. So you know he was well-to-do. Jane Knox Polk, where he gets his middle name. They're descended from John Knox, the founder of Scottish Presbyterianism. Not too much about his mother's early life, although she outlived many of her 10 children, including the president.
Yep.
Polk was actually the first president that didn't outlive his own mother. And the Polks, in like a little interesting aside, were married in a double wedding ceremony, the other groom being Sam's brother. That was on Christmas Day, 1794.
Yes.
She was super religious, stressing religion and education, and she was pretty horrified when on his deathbed James K. Polk decided he wanted to be baptized as a Methodist and not a Presbyterian.
Ouch. Well, Herbert Hoover's parents, his father Jesse Clark Hoover was a blacksmith and farm equipment salesman. Seemed to do all right for himself. Also served as a town assessor and councilman. Unfortunately, died at the age of 34
Ooh.
from heart trouble when future President Hoover was only 6 years old.
Wow.
Hoover's mother, Huldah Mint, H-U-L-D-A-H.
Huldah.
Huldah.
Yeah.
Huldah Hoover.
That's a good name. Huldah Hoover.
She attended the University of Iowa and taught school before she got married. Pretty notable for a woman at that time.
Yeah.
To have a university education. Then, after her husband's death, she kept the family together, made money through sewing, hoarded the life insurance money, and she actually became a Quaker minister in her own right, preached at various meetings of the Society of Friends, and was an advocate of women's rights. Unfortunately, she only survived her husband by a few years. Died of pneumonia at the age of 35. President Hoover was an orphan in a pretty young age.
Yeah, he was. Good on Huldah, though.
Yeah.
Not
Pretty
too shabby.
impressive accomplishments for a woman of that time who died so young.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing like exactly jumping out about the Polks. They just accomplished living longer than did the Hoovers. I mean, you know, they were just your standard kind of southern landowning family. So obviously they had respect and stuff, but, you know, I don't know that they really...
Well, if you go purely by the number of slaves owned,
Yeah.
then the Polks are going to win.
Yeah.
But it's not a definitive metric.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to hand it to Huldah Hoover.
Yeah, I think Huldah...
Maybe they weren't as well off as, like, the Polks, but that's a pretty remarkable...
Yeah. They accomplished a lot by their mid-30s.
Yeah.
Including giving birth to a future president.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, let's go with that.
What if the Hoover parents take this category?
Yeah.
And we will move on when I'm going to draw George Washington.
And he's going against Chester Arthur.
Their category, most underrated.
Well, now.
Well, this is probably not a great category to have Washington in.
Yeah.
And for this category, we are going to refer to a presidential rankings put together by C-SPAN from surveys of a bunch of historians composite into these rankings. They have got George Washington ranked second behind Abraham Lincoln. So there's not much room for him to be underrated.
Yeah. Yeah, the only argument would be if you think he was a better president than Lincoln.
Yeah.
And there are, obviously those that do. Those are always pretty much the top two.
Yeah, you could argue. Whereas they've got Chester Arthur at number 35 out of 43 on this list.
That's right.
It's,
Does he
not
maybe
very
deserve
generous.
better? See, that's the thing. Sometimes, I'll think, well, he deserves better than that, but does he deserve it more so than some of the other people
Yeah.
that are ranked
Look at some
above
of the
him?
people above him. Jimmy Carter, probably.
Oh, they have Jimmy Carter at
Yeah,
26.
Jimmy Carter's pretty overrated on this
That's
list,
a
I think.
that's a very generous ranking for him as president. Oh, and they even have JQA up at 21. Wow. And then you have George W. Bush at 33. Well, based on this, I would say Chester Arthur is more underrated. Well, he's certainly more underrated than Washington, just for the
Yeah.
sake of the hand, but
Yeah.
perhaps there's a slew of things here.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not, horribly underrated on this list, but
No, not terribly, but
I mean,
it's more so than Washington, I suppose.
definitely.
I mean, if you want to argue whether Chester Arthur was a better president than Martin Van Buren, who is ranked 34 to Arthur's 35. I mean, I don't know.
There's probably
Arthur, I think, did better as president than anybody would have given him credit for. At the time, like when he became president, people were probably mortified, and then he did a pretty stand-up job.
Yeah, Washington, the unanimous choice of everyone to be president.
Yeah.
Nobody chose Chester Arthur to be president.
And likely nobody would have.
A compromise vice presidential
Yeah.
choice, and then took over upon Garfield's death.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. He's not in the bottom tier of presidents, but this ranking has him almost on the cusp of that.
Yeah.
So, I'd say he's slightly underrated here.
Well, and then in this very rare instance, Chester Arthur is going to defeat George Washington.
Dang, what a waste of my George Washington card. See if I can make better use of James Monroe.
Going up against John Quincy Adams.
Their category, biggest election victory.
Oh boy. Well, this one's a pretty easy win for James Monroe.
Yeah, James Monroe, pretty dominating win in the 1816 election, and then 1820 ran unopposed.
Yeah,
Won.
that would never happen again.
Got all the electoral votes except one that was spitefully given to John Quincy Adams.
Yeah.
John Quincy Adams, of course, did not win the popular vote.
Yeah.
Was second in the Electoral College.
Yep, and
The House tiebreaker.
that's it, tainted with cries of the corrupt bargain. I think that's a pretty handy victory for James Monroe.
Yeah. JQA probably one of the lower cards you can get in this category.
Yeah.
One of the... Well, I mean, you got probably, guys like Chester Arthur or something who
Yeah.
didn't win any elections.
Yeah,
at all.
JQA was kind of just able to thread the needle and get in there.
Well, I mean, back in the day before the really solidified two-party system, when there was wider fields of candidates, getting into the House tiebreaker was a strategy.
Yeah.
So he was the first to pull that off.
Mm-hmm.
But James Monroe taking that category and
Moving right along.
got John F. Kennedy.
Against Lyndon Baines Johnson. Interesting matchup.
Yeah, once again, back-to-back presidents go.
Yeah.
And their category, who would you rather have date your daughter?
Oh boy.
That's one of our new categories. All right, who would you rather have date your daughter? And this is how, this is the theory of the category, I guess. You take yourself back in time to around the time when these young men were, probably, around 20 years of age.
Yeah.
Knowing what you know about their later character and livelihood, how would you feel if your daughter came home with one of these guys?
I think certain parents would probably feel pretty good about Kennedy just because of the money aspect. It's like, oh, you're going to marry into money. Like, just marry him and let him do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
Because as long as you are taking care of it, doesn't matter. I'm sure there's people like that.
But then, of course, the number one presidential adulterer
Yeah.
would be absolutely brazen in banging everyone other than your daughter.
Yeah. And you just have to kind of deal with it.
And also, I don't know if you get to, within the theory of this category, you get to know that your daughter will be sitting next to him when he gets shot in the head.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a fun way for that marriage to end.
Yeah.
But then, Lyndon Johnson.
Yeah,
wouldn't be
Lyndon Johnson, on the
necessarily
other
too
hand.
thrilled about him either.
Yeah.
Pretty uncouth.
Yeah. A little bit lewd. There's a part of him that your daughter might like.
Well,
But
these guys, two of the three known presidential penis nicknames. In
That's
this
right.
category.
Yeah.
I don't know that I want my daughter dating anybody who has a nickname for his penis.
yeah, that's kind of odd. So you're choosing the lesser of two evils. I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel
how
like-
faithful LBJ was to his wife either.
Yeah, I
There's
think he'd
stories
probably
about
be
him,
the
groping other women
easier to
right
get
in front
along
of his
with,
wife.
but you might be able to see through that. Because he's like a classic wheeling and dealing Texas politician, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, neither one of them really exactly what a, kind of protective father would necessarily want.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a tough one.
I don't know.
That's a tough one, yeah, because it sounds like really kind of shallow to be like, oh, well, Kennedy because his family had money, but it's not really. It is a tough
I
one.
mean, Jackie, her second husband probably had even more money
Mm-hmm.
than the first. Neither of
Yeah.
those, that also not a successful marriage.
Yeah.
It's the kind of category you want, like Jimmy Carter in.
Yeah. Somebody you know is more along the straight and narrow.
Well,
That's really tough. Because I was going to say maybe he's like a little bit less phony than Kennedy would be, but I doubt it. He's just as phony.
well, It's hard to say that hard to let the number one adulterer win in this category.
Yeah, I would say that's
Probably have to
definitely something to consider.
go with LBJ, but not be too thrilled about it
Yeah,
as a father.
that's it. So we go Jumbo over JJ for your daughter.
Yeah. Just try not to think about it.
Yeah.
Well,
Instead, think about this next hand.
we get Barack Obama.
And we got Richard Nixon.
Their category, most devious.
Well, that depends. Was Barack Obama actually born in Kenya? Is he
Huh.
some kind of sleeper agent for George Soros and his empire of lizard people that
Yeah, he
are out
uses-
to stop, or what are they doing? They're having like cannibal sex or something? I don't know. I mean, this is clearly Nixon is the more devious of the two. I mean,
Yeah.
all ludicrous
unless
joking
Obama is
aside.
so devious that we don't even know it yet.
Yeah,
Nixon, one of the most devious
certainly.
presidents.
Yeah, he's a paranoid individual who was willing to take some, well, let's call them missteps to try and keep things on lock, and it just did not work out.
Yeah, the election of 1960, he lost to Kennedy, and there was, a lot of suspicious, voter fraud accusations there.
Mm-hmm.
Nixon feeling that Kennedy stole that election
Yeah.
through dirty tricks and vowed that he would never be out-tricked again.
Yeah. Then he really became Tricky Dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is...
Yeah,
Okay.
Barack Obama doesn't have Tricky as a nickname.
That's
He's
true.
not going to win the most devious category.
That's right. Yep, this is a Nixon Vic.
Nixon, a great card to have when it comes to deviousness.
Indeed.
Next up, I've got George W. Bush.
And he'll be going against Martin Van Buren.
Their category, Best Statesman.
Well, that's kind of an interesting one. Martin Van Buren, master politician, but statesman? Perhaps not so much.
Yeah, that's where he, may have left something to be desired.
Yeah.
Panic of 1837 and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
The, Amistad debacle.
Yeah.
Not very statesmanlike.
No. But, boy, statesman and George W. Bush, does that go in the same sentence?
I don't know. I mean, I think he had some good... I don't know. He had a few good statesman moments around 9/11.
Yeah, I think we could give him that. He very statesman-like the way he dodged those shoes
Yeah.
being hurled at him. A lesser statesman would have got conked in the dome.
Yeah. Yeah. He
I
had
don't
his
know.
fair share of gaps as
Yeah,
well,
that's for sure.
and some image problems.
Yeah, that's a tough one. As if it was politician, definitely Van Buren. Statesman, I mean, I'm still leaning towards Van Buren over George W. Bush, but it's a little more tricky.
I think I almost want to give it to Bush here in the, I don't know, the post 9/11 era when his approval rating as a president went like higher than anyone's pretty much ever has. I mean, obviously there was a lot of, patriotistic, rallying around the flag stuff going on there, but him as just kind of the figurehead of that.
Yeah, he handled that okay. It's just retroactively people going back and saying, like, oh, well, he botched this and did this. And yeah, of course, there's, like, bad things. I'm not going to say that he's a great statesman. Obviously,
they put together some pretty big coalitions for the wars that were, Iraq, not necessarily a good idea, but lots of countries on board with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we do gotta hand that to him. Maybe he will eke this one out over MVB.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go George W.
GWB. With a narrow victory.
Indeed.
Coming up next, I've got John Adams.
And I've got Ronald Reagan.
Their category, most accomplished children.
Well, I think we know a little bit about at least John Adams's most accomplished child. Hint, he's the one that didn't get disowned and then die of alcoholism.
That was,
Charles?
Yeah.
And then his daughter unfortunately succumbed to, I think it was breast cancer.
No. That was in the John Adams miniseries. Didn't she had breast cancer and had a mastectomy, I believe?
Yeah.
I don't know if she ended up surviving it or not.
I thought she died of complications from it. I could be wrong.
No, it says she died of cancer, having endured 3 years of severe pain. That was 1813. She married William Smith, a Revolutionary officer who later became a congressman. Charles, of course, dying as an alcoholic, age 30. Thomas Adams also drank excessively and died in debt, but luckily for John Adams, he has the most accomplished child of any president.
Yeah.
By a pretty substantial margin.
Yeah, indeed.
That being JQA.
And as for the children of Reagan, we have Maureen Reagan, who was a businesswoman and political figure. Now, she is a daughter from Reagan's first marriage. Hostess of radio and television talk shows, she helped found Showcase USA, which was a magazine promoting American exports. The success of this magazine led to the establishment of Sell Overseas America. Active in California Republican affairs, ran unsuccessfully for the GOP nomination for U.S. Senate. Her dad wasn't too thrilled about that, apparently. But her uncle Neil was and served as campaign co-chairman. Oh, I read that wrong. Uncle Neil served as campaign co-chairman for her opponent and the eventual winner, Pete Wilson. Yep. Misread that one. So, yeah, they definitely didn't think she should have been doing that.
Well, she shared her father's economic conservatism
Indeed.
in opposition to big government, but promoted gun control and the Equal Rights Amendment and comparable worth pay for women. That's grounds to support her opponent if I've ever seen it.
Oh, raising eyebrows among party leaders when she insisted to skeptical reporters that she and her husband, political consultant Dennis Revel, had seen Lincoln's ghost in the White House.
Well,
perhaps they did. Then you have Michael Reagan, a businessman and sportsman. Looks like he...
professional speedboat racer.
There you go. That's pretty fun. Yeah. looks like he had a troubled childhood. Then you have Patty Reagan Davis, an actress and novelist. Stage name, Patty Davis. She appeared in one television film for ladies only. That's probably why I haven't seen it. Then in some minor roles, she wrote a novel, Homefront, and that was a bestseller. Then you have Ronald Prescott Reagan, who dropped out of Yale University at the end of his freshman year to study ballet.
Ouch.
And he resigned from the ballet, complaining of low pay and poor working conditions.
Should've stuck with Yale.
Yeah, he went on to join ABC as an entertainment reporter for Good Morning America. Well, I don't think any of the Reagan kids hold a candle to JQA.
Yeah, even though JQA being dragged down by his less accomplished brothers.
Yeah.
He
was the diamond in the rough of that brood.
indeed he was.
And they're
One
gonna...
of the best pre-presidential and post-presidential careers of any president.
Yeah, definitely.
A long and storied career.
Yeah, one of the... I mean, say what you will about JQA as a president, but as an individual, he's fascinating. Probably the best presidential intellect. We talked about Madison before.
Yeah, he's definitely
Madison's
up there.
probably like number 2, but JQA really takes that cake
Yeah. Well,
and eats it.
if JQA had dropped out of Harvard to join the ballet, then Ronald Reagan might be winning this category. But
That's right, as
the
it
way
as it
things
is.
turned out, this one's going to go to John Adams.
That's right.
We're going to move on to another hand when I've got George H.W. Bush.
I've got Thomas Jefferson.
Their category, biggest partier.
Ooh. Well, George W. Bush would have had a good time in this category,
Oh, yeah.
but his father, maybe not so much.
Yeah, not so much.
And Thomas
Maybe
Jefferson,
more.
I'm sure that he had some decent, like, friendly gatherings, but Jefferson wasn't too keen on, like, big crowds of people. He's not, like, a party person. I think in a small gathering setting, it would
Yeah,
probably be
he's,
enjoyable. Some nice wines
Yeah, he's big on dinner parties.
and things like that. But yeah, you're not going to go to like a big party with Jefferson, I don't think.
Yeah,
But a nice dinner gathering, certainly.
yeah, he hung out, in Paris.
And he was a Francophile, so he probably picked up a little bit of that.
Yeah,
It was just against his nature, he wasn't so outgoing. Bush, if you're at a dinner party with him, he might throw up on you.
yeah.
You never know when he'll commit a bushusuru.
Yeah, he doesn't even have to be drunk to be doing the Bush thing.
That's right.
It's probably more of, I don't know.
Well, and that's another thing is I'm thinking of, the story where George W. Bush comes home wrecked and proceeds to drive the car into the garbage cans
Yeah.
and gets
He and-
confronted by
He and
his
dad
father.
almost throw down.
Yeah.
Until Jeff
Almost came to
intervenes.
blows.
Yeah, George H.W. Bush, probably more of a party pooper for
Yeah.
his eldest son. Seems like he'd probably be more of a hanging out at the country club
Yeah.
kind of guy.
A little more, I'm seeing a little more preppy.
I don't know. I'd probably go with Jefferson.
I would too.
Just he had as president, Dolly Madison hosting some of his parties. For
Yeah.
him.
Which is nice. It's a good card to have up your sleeve.
Yeah. Be breaking into the old Thomas Jefferson wine cellar.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this will go to TJ.
That will bring us to our last card.
Ah,
I've got Bill Clinton.
and it could only be Abraham Lincoln.
In their category, who would win in a fight?
Well, I think we'd have to give it to our top presidential wrestler,
Yep.
winner of the Presidential Wrestling Federation Presidential Rumble, Abe Lincoln, the rail splitter.
Yep. He outlasted
Definitely knew how to
all the
fight.
other presidents.
Yeah.
He's tall, lanky,
And strong.
very strong.
Yep. He built up some immense pythons
Yep.
splitting rails.
He was on our list of most athletic presidents, specifically for his wrestling prowess, taking on the Clary's Grove boys.
That's it.
He's the big buck of this lick.
Indeed.
In this
Yeah,
game.
because Bill Clinton's exercise, I'm thinking during his presidency, but it consisted mainly of jogging to McDonald's.
Yeah.
So, kind of,
Yeah.
one checks the other one out.
That was an SNL skit, but it rang true.
Yeah. Indeed. I think
Jeez.
this is a very clear Lincoln victory.
Yeah, Bill Clinton, not so much the fighter, but the, running away, from an angry husband
Yeah.
kind of guy.
Yeah. Yeah, running from an enraged spouse. Yeah.
Yeah, Lincoln's gonna give Clinton the rail splitter and close out this category
Yeah.
and this game.
That's it. It is time for the card count. And we're back with the final tally of the game.
And it was a close one.
Indeed, I
Close
myself had.
Close as it can be without being a tie.
That's it. I myself finished with 20.
And I had one more hand victory to give me 24 cards.
That's it. And thereby, James J. Hamilton wins this inaugural game of Season 2 of Presidential War. There's going to be a lot more fun and exciting games in the future as these presidents go head-to-head in these various categories.
Yeah, we'll have a lot more chances to see who's nice, who's devious, and who's going to date your daughter.
That's right.
A lot of presidents are going to take a crack at our daughters this season of Presidential War.
That's it.
We're going to be keeping a shotgun on the porch for some of them.
That's right. It is war after all, and all is fair in love and presidential war. For the Dead Presidents Podcast, I'm Stephen Lincoln Douglas.
And I'm James J. Hamilton.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening.